Hi guys, thanks for joining me today. I'm Marilyn and my channel is Making with Marilyn. Now I do all things crafty, but on today's video I'm going to use some Welliser DTF powder and some Welliser DTF film for the very first time. Now these products were actually developed to be used with a DTF printer. But I'm going to do the hack where you use a sublimation printer instead. Now some people just use a regular printer. I've had more success using a sublimation printer with this hack, so that's what I'll do. Now I'm going to change the camera angle around so that you can see everything I'm getting ready to use. But before I do, if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing that. And then if you do, tap the bell and select the all notifications. That way YouTube lets you know anytime I upload new content. Now here's a lot of what I'm going to use in today's video. And the main thing I wanted to try out today was this new Welliser DTF powder. Now like I said in the intro, this is actually developed to be used with a DTF printer, but I'm using the sublimation hack. This is my first time to use this powder. We're going to see how it goes. Then they sent me 2 sizes of paper or film. It's not paper, it's actually film. They sent me A4 size and they sent me A3 size. Today I'm going to try out the A4 size. For my first time to use these products, I'm just going to use parts of an old t-shirt. I'm going to use gray, and then I'm going to use a couple of pieces of an old white t-shirt. And then to get film to go through my printer, I typically have to take a regular size piece of paper, tape the film to it, and you'll see how I did that in the video. I'm also going to use some butcher paper to catch the excess powder as well as to protect my heat press, and then I'll use some parchment paper. And the parchment paper will be larger than this. This just reminded me to talk about it. Now many people, including myself, experience those roller marks on these types of projects, and so I use a little scraper tool to get those to go away, or this little weeding tool. I just use it to scrape them. You'll see that later in the video as well. Now I'm going to print my images from my Epson EcoTank 15,000. It has Hippo brand sublimation ink in it. And then I'll use 3 images that I found on Creative Fabrica. Now in full disclosure, I'm doing all of this intro after the fact. I wanted to try this out yesterday, and as soon as it started printing, I thought, why not show everybody the first time I use it? So when this video starts, you're just going to see it printing out, and then we'll get into the meat of the video. I forgot to mention in the intro of the video that Welliser did provide me some 20% off coupon codes. Those are good through the end of April 2023. So if you're interested in trying these products, those codes are in the video description. Now you can see this printing out and you see the tape on it. I tape 3 places at the top and then 1 on each side. Now the very first time I tried this hack with another brand, I didn't tape it on the sides, and the film was trying to slide through faster than the paper that was behind it. I added tape to the sides and that fixed it. Now with sublimation ink, you do have a little bit of time. It doesn't dry super quickly. Basically, it took me the time to get my camera moved over and my microphone plugged in and find my glove. So, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 minutes. All right, so again, I am using the Welliser DTF powder. And this is a hack. This is usually used with DTF ink. I just have my little cup here. And this is just a little medicine cup. I got a bunch of these off of Amazon because I tend to use them quite a bit. And I'm just going to generously sprinkle this on. Now notice that I've left my tape on for now. I see a few clumps coming out. I probably should have broken that up before I put it on. What you can do is you can just take the bag and kind of squish it around with your hands before you open it. And I'm going to put this on very generously because the unused parts I'm going to put back in the bag. All right, since I'm using a glove on this hand, I just reached in there and broke it up. Okay, now the trick to this is getting it coated over your entire image. So I'm just going to roll this back and forth, making sure all parts of the images are covered. And then notice I have the butcher paper underneath it. That's just to catch it so I can put it back in the bag. See, I have some falling off now. All right, so back and forth, and then I'm going to go from front to back. So I went side to side. Now I'm just going to go back to front. I think one time will probably do it. Now, if you feel more comfortable, wear a mask. Do what's right for you. All right, so I have a lot of excess powder on there. I don't want that on there, so now I'm just going to tap it like this and let that fall off. Now I'm going to go ahead and put this under the heat press with the tape on it. I don't want to deal with the tape right now because when you do that, you risk smudging this. Also, I have some very faint roller marks. Once those have been cured, then I'll scrape those off too. Now, while my heat press is heating up, and I'm heating it up to 385, and I'll explain why in just a minute. But while that's heating up, I'm going to go ahead and put this right back in the bag. Now you want to be sure and close that bag back up or put it in an airtight container. You don't want moisture getting in there. Now I do mine a little bit differently than what some YouTubers do. Since this is sublimation ink, I like for it to go ahead and turn vibrant while the powder's curing. So for that reason, I go ahead and I cure it at a high temperature. I'm going to cure it at 385 and then I'm going to check it after 45 seconds. Now I use my heat press for this. You can use a Cricut Easy Press. You just have to hover it over it. You don't want it to touch the image. You could use a regular heat press. For today, I'm going to go ahead and use my HTB Raw Auto Press. Now I'm not going to have it closed down. I'm just going to have it stay open and hover over it. But you can see right now, it kind of looks like fine sugar on there. So when I was curing this, I put it under the HTB Raw heat press. And like I said, I didn't put the platen down on it. I just let it hover under it. Now I checked it after 45 seconds and it was slightly changing. I turned the paper, put it back in for 45 more seconds. After that, I checked it. It had changed a lot. It was looking pretty good, but it wasn't quite ready. So I put it back in for about 20 seconds, checked it again, still wasn't quite ready, so 20 more, and I think that did the trick. Just keep an eye on it so you make sure that you don't accidentally overcook it. All right, now that that is cured and now that those colors have popped, you can see those pizza wheel marks just a little bit better. I have some here under the mom, some under the shoe, and then some under the cat. So the first thing I want to do is go ahead and cut this apart. So if it were one big image, I would just cut out the big image, and then you don't even have to deal with the tape. And then once you cut out your images, then you can scrape away whatever pizza wheel marks are left. All right, so for now, I'm going to go ahead and leave it on the white paper so that you can see this better. Now I have a couple of options. Since this is very straight here, I could just take a scraper like this, and I can just scrape it off. Now, the film is going to remain dyed most likely. What I mean is it's going to have some of the coloring of the ink on it. But because the adhesive, or the powder that becomes the adhesive, is what makes the ink stick to your shirt, as long as I have the powder off of that ink, then I should be pretty safe. That's how I've always done it, and I haven't had a problem yet. Now, if it's in a more intricate area, then you can use just something else that has a small point and scrape it off that way. Now on this one, because that is so straight, I could just continue to cut that off. But I want you to see that even though you can slightly see a little bit of that left behind, it's just because the film is stained. So on this one, I printed upside down because I had the image upside down. And so the roller marks usually are below what you print. In this case, it looks like it's above it because I printed it upside down. But once again, I'm going to scrape off any of the powder that's stuck to that ink, because that's what it's doing, is it's sticking to the liquid. And that's why it's important that your ink doesn't dry and that it's really nice and wet when you put the powder on. Now this time I'm pretty much cutting all those roller marks away. Now because this is like sublimation or anything where you're doing a transfer and you're flipping it over to put it on your thing, you're not pulling it off with a mask and putting it back down. But because you have to flip it over to put it on your substrate, you have to mirror your design. Now I do see some roller marks here and here. I'm going to go ahead and scratch those off. All right, so let's put this on a sample piece of fabric. Let's see how these turn out. Now when I press these on, I'm going to go ahead and do it at a temperature of 300 for 10 to 20 seconds. That's what the instructions say. Now notice I didn't bake it at the way the instructions told me to, because this again is used for really DTF ink. This is a hack, so I used a little bit different temperature. Now this is just scrap fabric that I have from 3 old t-shirts. I want to show you what it looks like on gray, because just like with traditional sublimation, there's no white ink. So whatever color your substrate is, that's going to show through where the image would have white. Now if you do this with a DTF printer, it does have white ink, so you'd be fine. But I want to show you what these look like on gray as well. Now I'm a little bit concerned about this cat. It seems awfully dark. Maybe my print settings weren't the best. Now I'm going to go ahead and try to use my HTV ront. I'm not always that thrilled with how it does with DTF type things, so the DTF powder and all that. I did end up buying a replacement pad because I wasn't happy at all with the pad that came with it. But I'm going to go ahead and cover this just with butcher paper. Again, that just protects my press, and this is not the same butcher paper I used before. This is a clean piece. All right, so again, I'm going to press this at 300, and it says 10 to 20 seconds. I'm going to do 15. When it's done, I'm going to go ahead and bring it over here and peel it off here. Now, the powder I've used before said to wait about 10 seconds. Some people wait till it's totally cool. I'm going to check it after 10. Or about 10. And if these are not sticking, then I'll go ahead and use my traditional heat press because I can get more pressure with it. All right, let's see if it's going to come up okay. And I think that needs to go back under. Let me go ahead and turn on my other press. All right, that took a while, so let me go ahead and see if letting it cool all the way off did the job. I really think it's probably a lack of pressure. Well, It's coming off now. All right. Now a little bit came off. It might be where I had too much powder because the image still looks great. But you see how you see gray through that? That's what's going to happen when you use this hack or regular sublimation on something that's not white. Now with DTF or even the DTF hack, right now this feels pretty good, but it's a little bit slippery, just a little bit plasticky. And so what you do is you put it back under the heat with parchment paper on top. Then it really melts into the fabric. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back under for about 10 seconds. And this will be on top. All right, so you peel that off. And now, let me put it down, that's hot. That just melts it into the fabric so much more nicely. All right, let's go back to the cat. Let's see if I can peel it off now that it's cool. Oh, it's coming off so much better. All right, so that's the trick with this. Do a cool peel. That's pretty cute. Let's go ahead and put it back under for 10 seconds. Look how vibrant those colors are. Now again, I think this cat is a little bit dark. But it's not the fault of the powder. All right, and then the last one, Baseball Mom. Okay, I want to put that back down. I feel like part of that's lifting up. All right, I went ahead and did that the full 15 seconds again. I'm just so tempted to try to pull it up, but I had better luck with the others when it was a cool peel, so that's what I'll do with this as well. All right, that feels cooled off. Let's see if the part that was coming up before stays down, and it did. So I could see this part right here lifting up before, and it stayed down just beautifully. So possibly next time I do this, instead of doing the 15 seconds, I'll do the full 20. Now let's see if we see any of those pizza wheels. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Let me look at it, see if I see any of those marks, and I really don't. So that's that one. This is the image through the gray. And like I was talking about before, it is not going to look like your image on the computer unless the full background of your image was gray. If you see any white on the computer, you're not going to see that when you put it on a different color and material. And this hack does need to be done on light colored fabrics. I might have said that before, but people always ask. And for it to transfer directly onto the fabric and not use another hack, it needs to be light colored fabric. All right, and there's the cat. Now, the next time I use this Welliser product, they also sent me some of the large film. So I'm going to go ahead and use part of it. I may actually do this image, and I'm going to make it large and put it on a shirt. So if you're interested in watching that, please make sure you're subscribed, tap the bell, and then select that all notification. That way YouTube lets you know anytime I upload new content. Thanks so much for joining me today, and until my next one, bye-bye. All right, y'all, I forgot to show you what it looked like. Well, I actually just forgot to do it. So there I went ahead and put it under the parchment paper. And then this is really the final product. It doesn't change the look of it, but it sure does change the feel of it. Makes it more one with the fabric. Thanks again, and this time I really do mean it. Until my next video, bye-bye.